All right, we're here at the Information Security Summit at the IX Center and talking with Mike Stovsky of Benesch Law. Mike, you're the chair of one of the most important areas of the firm. Tell us about that.
So sure, I'm the chair of a group we call Innovations, Intellectual Property, and Information Technology. So we are basically the intellectual property and technology practice group of the firm. We do all of the intellectual property work for clients, technology transactional work, and data security and privacy work on a global basis.
Okay, so this week we're focusing on security. It's a whole week, which is kind of mind-blowing that we need a week of intense panels and speakers and all to cover this. And today is Law Day, which you guys are putting on. Why is this so prevalent now that we need a week for security?
Well, you can't pick up a newspaper without reading about a major security breach. I think clients, consumers, and business clients alike are becoming more and more knowledgeable about data security and privacy, the legal aspects of it, and how that meshes with what they need to do from a business perspective and a technical perspective. So as the risk has grown and as the amount of law has grown and regulation has grown, there's been a lot more interest, and it takes a lot more time to get through it. So I think that's why it's basically expanded from a day to a week over the last few years.
I heard one of the speakers in an earlier panel call it the inevitable data breach. Are we to that point really where a sizable company is pretty much has to expect that they're going to be attacked, if not breached?
I think so. I think what most people don't really understand is that you read about major breaches happening from external sources like hackers in the paper. That's that's what the newsworthy stuff is. But 95%, maybe higher than that, of all breaches happen because of simple neglect, internal. So yeah, I have to agree with that. Most companies are going to suffer some form of breach. It may not necessarily be from an external hack, but it could be from something that's done internally or not done properly internally. But I think it's going to, if you haven't suffered one, you probably will. And you probably already have and just don't know about it.
We're at the point where it's technology and law, that it's almost two prongs of it, where you can encrypt your data and you can train your people against social engineering and all, but then when something happens, you have to respond. You have to document and respond accordingly. Now, tell us a little about that process.
You do. All of the law that's in place right now in the United States and external to the United States has some kind of a mitigation aspect to it. So it covers breach, notification, what you need to do when you learn about a breach, and then let's take it a step further. What are you going to do to try to prevent that in the future? It involves taking a good hard look at your systems, what you've done in the past, your policies and procedures, and putting into place new ones to help mitigate against the risk. And we all knew that from a business perspective that was important, but now from a legal perspective, it's actually being codified in the law and the regulations.
Now, obviously, some verticals, medical, for example, are very regulated and specific. Is there some kind of rule of thumb as to a size of company or a vertical market where this makes really sense to have a process, and some are more immune to breaches and security issues? In
the United States, we care deeply about certain industries. Healthcare, for example, financial services. We care about companies that gather information from kids, particularly kids under age 13, and that sort of thing. We care about personal information like bank account information and social security numbers. So yes, in the United States, there are some industries that are subject to a heightened level of regulation, a heightened level of legal compliance than others. But the United States is very different from other areas of the world. In most other areas of the world, they don't take such a segmented approach to regulation and cybersecurity law. They are much more serious, and they treat the protection of personal information as a fundamental right. I mentioned Canada, Europe. They have very, very strict laws, and they really have taken the privacy of your personal information and it's risen to a level of importance there that really is similar to a constitutional right, a fundamental right. We don't do that in the United States. We're a little bit more willing to be risk takers with our personal information, except in those areas that we have somehow decided to care deeply about.
You know, do you think people, because we hear so many stories, are becoming a little blasé? I mean, people say, I had a Yahoo account, nothing happened. I had an Equifax account, nothing happened. This is all, you know, it's something for the techies and the lawyers. Or is it something, you know, down the road?
I think you'd be naive to think it's just for the techies and the lawyers. You never know. If you're one of the 143 million people that were the subject of the Equifax breach, it's really only a matter of time. And, you know, that's just one example of breaches that have occurred all over the United States. I mean, just last week, it's so funny that and when I say funny, I mean strange to me that no one has really mentioned the Hyatt breach. Okay, so Hyatt Hotels suffered a major breach, and they're the luckiest company in the world because of Equifax. It's still in the news. But, you know, data is being accessed, data is being stolen, and it's valuable. It's valuable to criminals, it's valuable to people who want to use it. So any person should be taking steps to protect themselves against the real big nasties that could arise from a data security breach.
You know, and finally, Mike, is it something where it's almost a cover your rear end mode, or can we actually prevent, you know, encrypting data, blocking USB ports, securing laptops and all, or are the bad guys always going to be able to get in and we're just giving it our best shot?
Yeah, I think it's becoming pretty clear that bad guys are pretty much going to be able to get in. I was just reading an article in the Wall Street Journal about quantum computing, and you know we're only a few years away from having quantum processors that are able to break really even the strongest encryption that exists today, because they run millions more calculations per second than any computer does today. And because of that, you're always going to have somebody who can get their hands on that technology. So there are things you can do, practical steps you can take to preserve your personal information, and we try to teach individuals and businesses alike what they can do. So being on the reactive side can be a good thing, because being on the front end preventive side, you're really going to be always going to be playing catch up to those who've got access to technology.
All right, great stuff, Mike. We've been talking with Mike Stovsky, Benesch Law, here at the Information Security Summit at the Cleveland IX Center. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.